When I was little, my mother always used to tell us that giving is not about how much you have, it's about how much you care. Back then, I thought she meant sharing my toys or splitting my chocolate bar in half and sharing that. But what she was really trying to teach us is something far deeper. It's that responsibility towards others is not an act of charity. It is a way of being. My mother didn't lecture us. She showed us. She didn't give from abundance. She gave from belief. She didn't wait for others to act. She was the action. Through small, quiet gestures, helping a neighbor, or sending food to someone in need, she made generosity feel like part of life's rhythm. I didn't realize until way later that what she was teaching me was the foundation of a whole philosophy. That spirit flowed throughout my whole family, my father, my brothers, my sisters, their husbands and wives, and even the nephews and nieces. One day, I took my niece with me as we were visiting less fortunate families. She was 6 back then. And it was a time of year where we visited these families to give them food, food supplies, clothing, and other key essentials. In one of the homes, there was a boy that she noticed. This boy was a person of determination, and he didn't have a wheelchair. His mother was telling us how difficult it was for them. Outside the house, inside the house, they had to carry him everywhere, even to the bathroom. My niece looked at me and whispered, "Do you have any money?" I looked at her and asked why. She said, "So he can buy a wheelchair." I smiled and I gave her the money. She went and she put that money gently in the mother's hand and told her, "This is so you can buy him a wheelchair." That small, cute hand, that of a 6-year-old, carried the kind of humanity that changes everything. That day, she learned what my mother taught us years ago, that we're not to be entitled. We're to be grateful for everything we have. Values travel faster than bloodlines. And when we live them sincerely, they don't just stay with us, they spread. And what do they become? They become your family's legacy. Years later, I found myself working at an organization in Abu Dhabi called MAN, the Authority of Social Contribution. On what a day that was! I was finally doing something I loved every single day. At MAN, I'm not working a job. I'm living a purpose. And often, I describe MAN as being a bridge between compassion and structure. On one side of the bridge is the government, working hard in identifying pressing social challenges, like needs of people of determination, seniors, children who don't have access to education, or patients that can't afford treatment. On the other side, the private sector, high net worth individuals, and the wider community, all of whom want to contribute, all of whom want to give whatever they can to the community, but maybe they don't know how or where, or maybe they don't know how the impact will be or whether the impact will be real. Because at MAN, a contribution could be $1 dirham made through an ATM machine or millions through corporate partners, but every act matters. We work across 4 main sectors: health, education, social, and environment. These are the foundations of well-being and the areas where the contributions can make the greatest difference. And while we also engage the third sector, the truth of the matter is The real impact only happens when all sectors come together and work towards a shared vision and a shared objective. The private sector, the government sector, and the third sector. And that's where man comes in, right in the middle, connecting them all. And actually, that's what our name means. Man means together in English. We work very closely with our regulator, the Department of Community Development, which continuously studies and prioritizes Abu Dhabi's social challenges. And based on these priorities, we start sourcing projects that address these social challenges and priorities. But when we assess these projects, we always ask ourselves, do they really address a social challenge? Are they sustainable? But most importantly, will they create measurable impact in people's lives? Once these projects pass that assessment, they become part of what we call the man catalog of projects. And that's what we use when we're approaching corporates or individuals who pick what impact they want to create and then decide on what they want to contribute. At the same time, we also co-create custom projects with our contributors. And that usually happens when a contributor comes and they don't find what they really want in the catalog, or maybe they have a specific idea in mind that they want to see come to life. And a very good example of that is the dialysis center. One day, there was a contributor that came, looked at the catalog and said, wow, amazing projects you have here, but I want to help people who need dialysis and can't afford it because their insurance doesn't cover it. We immediately told him, we can make that happen. And without wasting any time, we approached the regulator of the health sector in Abu Dhabi. We told them what we want to do. They verified the need and they hopped on board. We went to a health operator in Abu Dhabi. We explained to them what we want to do, and they were so excited that they offered to operate the center at cost, meaning that the other part of the cost would be considered a contribution for them, in-kind contribution. And they hopped on board. We then went to the government, who gave us a building. Oh, wow, were we ecstatic. And so was the contributor, who immediately gave us the contribution as a capex. Without wasting any time, we took that money and started preparing the building to be a dialysis center to serve those in need of dialysis whose insurance doesn't cover it. But did we stop it there? Definitely not. We opened crowdfunding to raise the OPEX for the building. And did we do it? Yes, we did. Did we stop it there? Definitely not. We opened the floor for the community to come forward and see what they could do. And it was really heartwarming to see specialized volunteers, artists come forward and do murals outside and inside the dialysis center, bringing hope and color to the place so that you don't sit for hours looking at a white wall while you're getting your dialysis. And it didn't stop there. There were volunteers coming from everywhere wanting to do something or the other. This, if anything, it proves that compassion can come from every corner of the community. So you see, what started as one person's dream, the dream to make sure that one's life should not and would not ever depend on whether they could afford treatment or not, came to reality through man. A reality made possible because what did we do? We brought together the government, the private sector, the health operator, and the wider community, all on one table, working towards one goal, towards one vision, and turning that vision into a reality. What is that reality? A place that people are being treated, hundreds of patients are being treated every year. And when a project is complete, we don't just close that. We don't just close that file. We show everybody what their contribution has achieved through detailed impact reports, through social return of investment analysis, real numbers, and real human stories. Because impact is not measured just through data. It's seen in lives restored, futures opened, and communities strengthened. Because man is not just about collecting contributions. It's about transforming generosity into tangible change and ensuring that every dirham, every idea, and every act of care leaves a lasting mark on someone's life. That's what it means to be a bridge. Not just connecting people, but helping them cross together. And that's where the real magic happens, when we're able to turn our strategies, our reports, and our systems to start to show up in people's everyday lives. That's when you realize that what we do isn't about just funding projects. It's about changing stories. I've seen these stories unfold, not through spreadsheets and presentations, absolutely not. I've seen it in people's faces. I've seen it in people's voices. And lives that have changed right before my eyes. I remember a dialysis patient. He got kidney failure, unexpected, and he thought his life was completely over. No job, he had to go back to his country, he won't have an income. And he said, as I was packing my bag, my friends were collecting money to get me a ticket to go back home. And I was thinking, what am I going to do? No job, no money, and kidney failure? And then my prayers were heard. I got a call telling me, you can come and have your dialysis session at the center. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to pay anything. And today, through man's partnerships, he receives continuous care at the dialysis center. His life, his dignity, and his hope, all restored by a community that refused to look away or give up on him or anyone like him. And through our Journey of Generation program, I saw a different type of bridge. A bridge between hearts. Built on the concept of intergenerational integration, this program was designed to address the challenge of loneliness and isolation within senior citizens and residents in Abu Dhabi. Basically, what it did was it brought these senior citizens and joined them with the younger generation. They used to spend time with each other on a weekly basis, walking, talking, doing different activities, visiting places. It was amazing to see, and it was really heartwarming. One day, I remember a senior told me, I've never laughed this much in all my life. And at the same time, the volunteer said, I didn't know that giving 1 hour of my time would be this impactful. One day, I got a call from a well-known heart surgeon in Abu Dhabi. Hello? Are you Maysa? Yes, I am. Okay. He's like, and he went on and on to tell me how impactful the program has been. Apparently, he had a couple of patients that were part of this program, and he suddenly saw such an amazing improvement in their health stats, and he didn't know why. He said, I saw it the first time, and I didn't know what was going on. I saw it the second time, and I was wondering what is going on. The third time, I had to ask, what are you doing that's different? And they told him that they were part of this program. He told me, your program is not only changing their lives socially, but I could see it even in their health stats. So it's social and health. This doctor from that day onwards became a volunteer on the program. He started coming and giving lectures, different lectures to the seniors, besides volunteering and spending time with them. I could go on and on with stories, but all I want to really say is that these aren't isolated acts of kindness. They're a pattern, a heartbeat, pulsing through this city, our Abu Dhabi. And that heartbeat was captured beautifully in the series Ahl al-Ata, 15 episodes, where we basically took 15 of our projects, which is nothing based on all the projects we have, but we took 15 of our projects and we showcased them through the lens of, absolutely not through the lens of man. We showcased them through the lens of the beneficiary who was getting hope out of these programs, through the lens of the contributor who was allowing this hope to happen, and through the lens of the operator who was making it happen. These episodes ran Ramadan, and it was amazing to see the impact shown in the lens of all of these three. The show didn't just reflect the impact of these programs, but it showcased that when compassion is there and a community comes together, a lot can happen. Because every time someone contributes, whether it's a company funding a dialysis center, or a parent donating 1 dirham, or a volunteer giving an afternoon, a ripple begins. And together those ripples becomes waves. Waves that restore dignity, create opportunity, and remind us all that compassion, when organized, can move an entire society forward. There's a verse in the Quran that compares giving to a seed, one that grows 7 years, and in every year 100 grains. This always makes me think, and I think often about this, because the way I see it is that's exactly what social responsibility is all about. One act of care, a family teaching a child to give, a company supporting a patient, a volunteer spending an hour. All of this can multiply far beyond what we see. It multiplies. Good multiplies. The beauty of giving is its harvest never truly stops. It keeps going. Working at Man taught me something unexpected. It's easier to build systems than to build empathy. But when you manage to do both, you can change the world. And that's what I'm hoping to do, actually. So maybe the question isn't how much I can give. It's what kind of community do I want to build? What kind of community do I want to live in? Because when responsibility becomes a value and not a task, it transforms everything. How we build businesses, how we design our cities, or even how we raise our kids. Progress without compassion will always be incomplete. I still remember my mom's voice when she says, "Give even when no one is watching." Today, I see that lesson reflected across Abu Dhabi, a city where giving isn't occasional, it's a part of who we are. I see compassion organized, and I see kindness measured. I see a city where responsibility is lived. But we can't stop here. Every company, every leader, every individual has a role to play. If you lead a business, let your profit create purpose. If you're an individual, know that every dirham, every hour matters, because real change doesn't begin with the size of your contribution. It begins with sincerity. Together, Man, we can build a future where generosity isn't rare. It's the ecosystem, a future shaped by compassion, contribution, and community. It started in my home, and today it continues in yours. And to my own family, sitting here today with us in the audience, thank you for being where it all began, for teaching me that giving doesn't start with wealth, it starts with the heart. Thank you.